You're going to spend your whole life preparing to meet the Lord. Boy, you folks are crazy as hell.
And she seemed to get the biggest kick out of the Christians who called the program and wished that God would damn her in hell forever in boiling oil. That just thrilled her. That was a success. That was her proof that religion was a form of mental illness.
Hitting the road in the 1970s, Madalyn introduced a whole generation to the seditious ideas of atheism.
You didn't hear the word atheist really 30 years ago, until I saw Madalyn O'Hair on television. I don't think I ever heard the word before until I saw her on television in 1978. And it was fascinating. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and she was on a local station, and she was sitting on a platform, surrounded by all types of clergy, priests and ministers and rabbis, and they were purposely brought on to refute everything she had to say live on the air. But she was right.
As I traveled through America looking for Madalyn, I kept coming across people whose lives were changed by knowing her.
It was like a gigantic coming out party for us. When we would go and stand beside Madalyn, sometimes we still want to whisper, well, I've been an atheist for 10 years. But you still didn't even want everyone in the room to hear it.
She was a hard-driving person. They just had a cause, and I always just loved her.
She received dozens of death threats, probably daily, and always figured that someday someone would kill her.
When I met her, when I was in the atheist rock band in the Midwest, and I think it was 1977, 78, somewhere around that, and she had given a beautiful talk at Drake University, and she was at the reception afterwards, and I walked up to her with my long hair and leather jacket and everything. I just said, hey, you're fucking excellent. And without even skipping a beat, she just said, I know.
30 years ago, as Madalyn Murray O'Hair paraded atheism across America, she was wading boldly into hostile territory. She did a series of knockabout performances in 38 Bible Belt towns with a firebrand Southern preacher. The Reverend Bob Harrington, the self-styled chaplain of Bourbon Street, was a showman as outrageous as Madalyn.
The people were so excited about me taking on this woman, Madalyn Murray O'Hair. They come by the thousands. The only place she ever went for fun was with me on these shows. The only time she got to laugh was with me. But I never met anybody that claimed to love her.
After 20 years of confrontations and legal fights, O'Hair retreated increasingly into the tight circle of her atheist family, her younger son John Garth and granddaughter Robin. Madalyn had adopted Robin when Robin's father, Bill Murray, broke away from the family and from atheism. One night in 1980, Bill Murray had a dream. It changed his life. He had a vision of hell and salvation. And Bill, who at 14 had fought alongside his mother to defeat school prayer, denounced atheism. He became a born-again Christian.
He has this born-again experience, and he breaks from her. And not only breaks, but he goes into this evangelical ministry, his own ministry, and becomes perhaps her most visible opponent. And we have this annual ritual of Madalyn having her national meeting of the American Atheists, and Bill showing up with his entourage and having very public confrontations between the two.
Today, Bill Murray heads up the Religious Freedom Coalition, an evangelical lobbying group in Washington. He is close to President Bush. He campaigns to put prayer back in America's schools.
What I saw in Christianity and what I saw in Jesus Christ was a solution to the ills of society. Not a cause, but a solution. And I'm sure that there are a few atheists that live exemplary lives and that are very moral people, but the majority when God is not present in a person's life. And that spiritual void leads to all sorts of other societal ills. Do non-believers get excluded in our society? Of course they do. They are not a part of a whole society, of the majority society, and so as a result, there are instances where they aren't going to fit.
Madalyn called Bill's conversion a postnatal abortion.
I know he broke her heart. This was the biggest cross she had ever to carry. And I remember being surprised at how wounded she was by this, and it was revealing to me.
In the 1980s and 90s, the three O'Hairs ran the American Atheists as a family fiefdom. From childhood, Madalyn had aspired to the good life. Now the O'Hairs live together with the tastes and comforts of regular American families, easy listening music, and the annual Christmas tree. She was by now a familiar gargoyle in the Austin landscape, but always an outsider.
I can't tell you how many times we made frantic runs for our cars in parking lots or where we have been insulted in restaurants. The doctor tells me to walk 2 miles a day. I can't. I cannot go out and walk 2 miles any place in Austin without being accosted by a religious nut.
With the looming threat of a ruinous legal action, Madalyn's health deteriorated.
I'm 74 years old now. I'm diabetic, and I'm in really rotten health. And I hang on to life, for there is nothing else that I can do but hang on and fight. And I'll die too. Madalyn Murray O'Hair.
At her last atheist convention, O'Hair was still trying to rouse her followers.
Atheists feel that they dare not speak, and that is wrong. Knowing what we are, knowing how it is, knowing that the worst may come, atheists must speak out.
I came to Austin, Texas to track down what finally happened to O'Hair and her family. I knew that things went badly for them in the 1990s. The U.S. taxmen hounded them. They were fighting a legal battle in California which might have bankrupted them. It seemed they were casting around for escapes, exploring prospects for a life in New Zealand. By 1995, after a series of mysterious robberies, the atheist headquarters was an uneasy place.
They always knew what they were doing, but this time they did not know at all what they were doing. They did it all wrong this time.
The final